Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the state of Texas. We have a very special guest with us today, NBC's Meet the Press host, Chuck Todd. Welcome. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
You're in South by Southwest mode this week. So this podcast, everything surrounding it, seems like Meet the Press is all the talk this year because of the big number, right?
Well, look, I think part of my goal when I took over the show was, if you look at the media landscape in general, and you say to yourself, media entities that have survived and thrived versus ones that have struggled, to be weekly anymore in the American politics, in the media landscape, you're just going to die. I mean, look at news magazines, right? I grew up, we got all three, Time, Newsweek, and U.S. News. My dad was a sort of a news junkie. Now there's only one of those, I think, is fully in magazine form, and it's not really a news magazine, and one does ratings now. You know, it's just not the same thing. It is hard to be a weekly product anymore if you disappear for the other 6 days. And so one of my goals was to create a 24/7 platform for Meet the Press. We have now a daily show on cable, Monday through Friday. The podcast is something that is just sort of an itch that I wanted to scratch, which is, look, Meet the Press on Sunday mornings is an interview, can be sometimes it's adversarial, it's accountability journalism, things like that. You want to have conversations, too. Those are good, too. You learn a lot from a conversation as much as you do from an interrogation. Podcast gives me an opportunity to do conversations, too.
What is it to say 70 years on this program? It's quite a legacy.
It is. The scariest part is, when you're one of the moderators for a show that's the longest running show in world history on television, you just don't want to be the last one, right? So you got to make sure I cannot wait. I'm a custodian of the seat, and I want to hand the baton off in better shape than I got it. I got it in a great shape, and I want to send it off in even better shape and in more paths that it can go down. I do think it's, look, the reason why we do public affairs shows, why you're doing a public affairs show, is a commitment we made to the American public when we as broadcasters, we quote, we don't own the public airways, but we operate on them, and one of the things is to give back on public affairs. I think Meet the Press served as sort of the first standard bearer of this, and there's a lot of, we now find the importance of it. I think what I hope is that we can't let it get stale where people feel like they can give it up. And I think we do still serve a purpose in that respect.
How has your role in that realm changed in the last year after the election and the new administration?
I don't know if my role has changed per se. I don't view it as that. I can just say this. I do think, look, it is clear. I prefer to cover American politics like an anthropologist, which is mean I'm an observer and I want to be analytical and I want to probe, but I'm there to sort of understand why something has happened. And I've always said the most important question I answer every day is why. Why did this happen? Why did that happen? Why is this person voting this way? Why is this person voting that way? I would say what's changed the most in the last 5 years, more so, and I feel like I've certainly feel it personally, which is this idea that I think more and more the media is considered part of the process. I still believe we're at our most effective when we're covering the process and not thought of as part of the process. But it's possible that toothpaste is out of the tube. So you got to do the best you can, I think. Look, this is the world we live in. So I still want to have that ability to convince viewers, no, you still want some media to be observational and analytical without being agenda-driven. But acknowledge that the media plays a role as well. So I guess the acceptance that we're part of the process, and even though we want to vigorously believe we shouldn't be, we're part of the process whether we like it or not. That's happened. That's what happens when you have a former political consultant that starts a TV network, right? It's all been intertwined. This is the world we live in, so how do we move on from there?
Right now, the media is under such a microscope when it comes to covering politics and this administration particularly. What kind of challenge do you have in Washington right now for that kind of thing?
Well, it's a challenge if you sit and think about it. I mean, look, I will say this, I've even said this to other elected officials. I said, guess what? I now know what it's like to be an elected official. And you now know what it's like, because we're getting the incoming in media that politicians have been getting from angry voters for decades, whether before handwritten letters, then it was phone calls and postcards and tweets or whatever. But we're almost getting the same constituent complaints, and we're feeling it and all that. So the one way that it's made me more empathetic of gotcha moments, meaning like where you realize, hey, I'm a three-dimensional figure, I'm not a two-dimensional figure, and do sometimes we cover politicians as two-dimensional figures and not three. So I would like to think it may sensitize us in that respect. But I would say this, I wouldn't dwell on it. I've said to myself, I don't care if I'm unpopular. If you're into journalism and you care about your popularity, you're in the wrong business. Go into politics. Politics is for those that care about popularity, not journalism. And I do worry about some of our colleagues that get too worked up on this. Oh my God, everything's too negative here. This is not a popularity contest. The truth is not a popularity contest.
I don't know if you remember this, but the last time I actually saw you was back in 2011 in Waterloo, Iowa.
Wow. How about that?
I was covering Governor Perry on his first presidential run.
Oh, I remember, and I remember the moment. And we were in Waterloo with Michelle Bachmann, I believe, and I think Rick Santorum crashed the party. And it was Rick Perry's coming out moment. Yep. And it was basically that night was the high point of the Rick Perry presidential campaign. He actually, and he did look like a formidable opponent to Mitt Romney on that stage. Michelle Bachmann, who had just won that big straw poll, she was chasing her tail in that event. And it was, for that brief moment, I think we all walked away going, all right, Rick Perry's got a shot.
And look at him now.
Oops.
Well, how do you think he's doing in his cabinet post? It's not one that we hear a lot about right now.
It's not. I am mildly surprised at his interest in it. But I have to say this. I think Rick Perry has a lot of politicians, when they get dealt that personal rejection that happens, when you're pursued or whatever, I think he has shown he's got pretty thick skin. He's got a sense of humor. He's shown his ability to admit when he's wrong on something. So I think he's handled his personal politics as well as anybody I've seen that has sort of been to the top and the bottom and is sort of, still wants in the public service space. I think he's done a good job of handling himself that way. As a cabinet secretary, it is hard to make an impact as energy secretary that is somehow going to, put it this way, he's in one of those cabinet posts where if you're getting attention, it's usually a bad thing, not a good thing.
What about our other Texan, Rex Tillerson? There's been so much talk about Russia and his possible ties to that. How do you think he's doing so far?
I think he does not have his sea legs yet. I think it's pretty clear. I think he doesn't. I think he hasn't. And I think part of this is you could see the inexperience, and he's really been handicapped by the fact that he does not have an experienced number two at his side. Sort of a Washington insider that says, no, you got to be in that meeting. No. You tell the White House that, no. You need to have that meeting with that foreign minister. No, this is how the... And I think the fact that he is almost alone at the State Department right now, he is not being well served by the White House, as difficult as they've made it for him to appoint a team and to put himself in a position to succeed. And I'm imagining right now, because I know I've seen this with former CEOs and business people when they get into politics, I imagine his frustration level has got to be through the roof. To his credit, he's kept his cool because you don't hear a lot about it. But CEOs are used to snapping their fingers and stuff is done. It's the scariest thing right now is he probably had more support staff as CEO of Exxon than he does right now as Secretary of State. Going on a big trip to Asia, I'm curious to see, he's not going to be surrounded by people he knows very well that are his support staff. That is not a good place. He would never, the board of directors would never let the CEO of Exxon go into a position like that. So I think right now he is being set up by the White House to potentially fail. And that is something that he needs to turn around and turn around fast. He's got some incredible advocates in his corner. Bob Gates, the former defense secretary, Jim Baker, former Secretary of State, Condi Rice, former Secretary of State. If I were Rex Tillerson right now, I'd be going to them going, you guys need to sound the alarm on my behalf, please.
All right. Chuck, thank you so much for being with us. I appreciate it. You can watch him at 9 o'clock on KXAN every Sunday morning, right after State of Texas. That starts at 8:30.